best of 3 between ROC and Gambit. Right now, ROC have a chance to move into the semi-finals to face SK Gaming with a win. But Gambit will be looking for a win as well to force a third place game. Wrong. Third game to tie-break the match. Now, we've already talked about the fact that 3-1 was a regular score in the season, the head-to-head between these two teams. And I asked this question on Twitter is it a surprise if ROC beat Gambit? Is it, considering how the season's gone?
Definitely not. I think at this point in time, when you look at the league, every single team in Europe has the ability to beat every other team. It has been consistently proven. Millennium were 7 wins on the split. They had 1 victory against almost every single team, and that's a team that got crushed throughout the majority of the splits. I think as a whole, our season and our teams are very even, and we just need to see how Gambit can dig down. They've got no room for error now.
Well, let's talk about that last game. First up, Diamond on Kha'Zix. His first death, actually, on Kha'Zix in 3 games. Certainly didn't have the impact that we've seen him in previous matches.
He didn't, but you can't blame it all on Diamond. Unfortunately for him, his solo laners of both Irelia and Kassadin, being played by Darian and Alex, just didn't get themselves in a particularly strong position. I do want to highlight the fact that it was a lot about Rocket. They set the tempo. They started a Baron at 22 minutes on the clock with Jax with his Blade of the Ruin King, the Bloodthirster on Selavar's Jinx, and the re-engage from Gambit were very good. They used their 2 teleports. They got 4 members of Rocket down for only losing 2 in the process. So at least good attempt to defend.
Let's talk about that Dragon fight as well. About 25 minutes into the game, Gambit managed to pick up the Dragon, but now ROC come back in, get the Baron, and then Gambit get kills. Those objective fights were a little bit messy in that game.
They were, and the Dragon fight that you're referring to was a clear example of the flaws in Gambit's composition. They needed to blow somebody up, they needed to kill that target. But the shields and the wild growth from Lulu, in conjunction with the shields in the face of the mountain from Thresh, meant they couldn't do it. So Rocket were able to get the momentum, they pushed more towers down, they came out ahead. And every single time they went to those towers, looked for places, they were landing death sentences, they were landing cocoons. Jankos in particular, he went 5-2-9 as Elise. And I want to highlight his Elise play because Lee Sin was available, Evelyn was available. Had he gone for those champions, the same would not have happened in this particular matchup. So very good pick ban phase from Rocket.
And his mid laner as well, Overpower 1-0-16 as Lulu. 6 of the 7 Bluevilles went to him. We actually talked about that statistic before the last game. That's what's been happening. Also, just want to mention that today is in fact Overpower's birthday. So what a cracking birthday present it would be if they can win this best of 3.
100% kill participation. His team had 17 kills. He picked up the last kill of the game to close it out. And he was everywhere. Every single time somebody from Rocket looked like they were going to go down, and Wild Growth was in there, he saved them. Selavar in particular, he was a player that got dove in the top line.
Yeah.
And he managed to come away with his life. He only gave up 1 death that entire game. I think in general, Rocket had superior control. They played better, they got more towers. They didn't necessarily focus the Dragon as much, but you do have to give them props for controlling the map. And they moved around very efficiently.
Let's talk about the other side and Gambit. Kassadin coming out here, first time that we've seen him after the rework, ended up 3-3-3, built tanky because he had to dive into the middle of those fights, but honestly didn't have any real impact on the game.
So I think there's going to be a whole lot of discussion around this Kassadin pick and whether or not he is still powerful enough to be played at this level. I never once felt that a Null Sphere Rift War combination along with his Force Pulse was ever threatening. He jumped into fights. I distinctly remember one team fight very early on in the game, teleported to the top lane, landed a full combo on like 3 members of Rocket, and I was sort of looking going, meh, like, is that it? Like,
yeah.
Did I miss something? Did he miss? And it just, I don't feel the damage was there. The next question is itemization. Did he want to be a tank? Did he want to provide kiting power? Did he want to split push? I mean, you can't catch a Kassadin, so I can see him split pushing. But yeah, I'm not 100% sold in that sort of composition that needed to find kills and picks. It wasn't working out.
So from that, I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to say no ban for Kassadin this time around.
So.
Do we need to ban him? Didn't really seem like it from game number 1.
I would say Thresh needs to be a consideration here. Vando and Thresh was very impactful. We've talked about how good he is. I still feel in the European LCS, this split, he is my favorite Thresh player because of his ability to perform at this level. And if it's not banned away, first picked has to be a consideration if you're Gambit.
Well, so far, not banned out. Ziggs and Karma for Gambit, LeBlanc, Renekton for ROC. They're sticking to the same bans here. Ryze banned out by Gambit as well. The final ban last time around was Nidalee, if my mind is correct.
Rocket banned Nidalee. Okay, so Rocket banned LeBlanc, yeah, Renekton, Nidalee, Karma, Ryze, Ziggs. Changing nothing. Feeling that their pick and ban theory in terms of the composition may be the decision maker, and it's actually quite poetic knowing all the champions are up and available. Previously it was Thresh first picked, this time around it's Lulu.
Well, they're gonna just lock in Jax and Thresh here. I mean, both champions last game around had big impacts on it. We saw Jax about 20 minutes, 25 minutes into the game, maybe in that top lane where he 1v2'd them, almost actually taking down Darion before dying in the end to a full HP Alex Ich. Thresh, we've already talked about. Vander, he had his MVP winning performances earlier on in the season. Had a bit of a not so impressive, let's call it, kind of mid to late seasons.
But the whole team
with Thresh, the whole team of ROC didn't have an impressive time in that stage of the season. But if they're going to win a best of 3, that kind of form from Vander is what will do it for them.
I completely agree with you. What I would like to see from Gambit is maybe considering going for poke champions. You know, right now they're not hovering over that Caitlyn. But what we've seen work very well early in the day was playing that 2v1 split push game, playing the map game. Gambit have done it. They smashed Roccat a few weeks ago using that map-based strategy. And I think if you can force Roccat onto the defensive, force him on the back foot, and then keep that Jax shut down, prevent him or delay him getting his key items, it allows you to get map control and it allows you to ensure Jax never jumps into your face. The Evelynn lock-in will give Gambit some early game assurances. They've got some presence. Roccat need to be very aware of their opponents before they commit, before they jump in for fights. And assuming Diamond is reading Jankos like he did in the previous game, he may have some outplay opportunities in that situation.
Well, it looks like Roccat are saying, well, what if it's not broken, why fix it at this point of things? Jinx at least locked in, the same AD carry, the same jungler, same top laner, and same support coming out here. Mid lane it is, of course, going to be different in this one, though, because Lulu has already been taken away by Gambit. The question now is, what are Gambit actually going to be finishing off with here? Kayle, I never trust Edward when he hovers over anything, so we'll completely forget that one. Right now, we're thinking about a top lane and a support here for Gambit.
It could be something like a Shyvana. I think if you were in Darren's shoes right now, that would be one of the options. You do also have, you know, you could go really brave and go something like an Olaf into that Jax. Go for something that maybe could find, if you get him ahead early, he's got the tools, he's not going to be worried about the counter-strike, has true damage to burn through some of those resistances that Jax built up naturally. I think there are options sitting on the side of Gambit, but I'm not sure what they're going to go for right now. I'm not convinced. So the Kayle, this is going to be, I'm going to say it's going to be Lulu support Kayle mid.
Yeah.
I think we're going to give Kayle to Alex, give him the ability to split push and also maybe dual Jax, maybe get through enough damage through intervention and get a lot of ability power later on in the game. But if we see Jankos ganking for Xaxus against this Irelia, you're going to have a very similar situation where Irelia was controlled. I don't feel like he scales quite as powerfully as Jax does. And I also want to highlight the fact that there's still not necessarily a lot of safe wave clear on the side of Gambit. They are relying on the short range of that Righteous Fury from Kayle to do a lot of AoE.
And look at Roccat here, kind of scratching their chins, scratching their head. What are we going to pick here? Is it Lulu in the mid lane? Is it Kayle in the mid lane? Who's going to be in the support role? What are we going to run? I mean, we know Overpower. He's brought Mordekaiser to play twice so far in the regular split. They're hovering over this Lux. They're keeping on it for a long time, but in the end, they're going to go safe here with Orianna.
So what I like about Orianna is it gives you a nice zone of control. You can put that command protect down. You can, command attack rather, to zone your opponents away, mitigate some of that rushing at you. Kayle wants to run at you, Lulu wants to run at you, Irelia wants to run at you. In addition, you've got very nice safe wave clear. On the side of Roccat, they've got clear engage, they've got clear disengage. They have a lot of things they can do very well, but again, it's dependent on landing those skill shots. There's still 15 seconds on the clock before we'll see if Alex or Edward swap. As it stands, this is a support Kayle, but I'm not sure. I guess if you go to Lulu, you're going to have more wave clear, you're going to have more ability power on your shields, etc. So you're going to have more saving potential. But I feel like there's enough AoE on the side of Roccat to get through the intervention and the wild growth. So we'll have to see as this clock runs down. It does look like it's going to be support Kayle.
One thing that we also saw in the European Challenger Series, actually, Kayle support role. double heal with the summoners coming out and the heal from Kayle there can be a real tough one to actually start to burn through. But for me, that only lasts so long into the game. Then, of course, you get the intervention later on, which may also change how things go. I'm very interested to see how Gambit have gone about this break and their team chat between these two games, because Gambit have traditionally been a team that, number one, have struggled. You know, if you look back to the tournaments that were over multiple days, a 3-day tournament, for example, day one, they'd be not very good. In the LCS, they've struggled traditionally across the whole season of keeping things very consistent, but they've always showed up when it counts in playoffs.
Well, game one of playoffs is definitely true Gambit style. It is game one of this series. It was not impressive at all. In this particular matchup, I think they have the tools to deal with Rocket early on. You know, the intervention, the wild growth, the summoner heals are actually going to burn through a lot of the single target damage that's going to come from Jax, from Jinx, and from Elise. But the problem is, if Gambit get themselves in a position where they get hit by a multiple man Counter-Strike, by a shockwave on multiple targets, and the Super Mega Death Rocket on multiple targets, all of a sudden, there's too many damage sources on too many champions to mitigate. So there's a lot of pressure on Gambit not putting themselves in that position, not putting themselves in a spot where they can get caught out.
Well, let's find out. It's game number 2 of Gambit versus ROC, with ROC having that 1-0 lead here in the best of 3. Diamond playing on Evelynn, gonna have a bit more freedom to be roaming around here at level 1. Let's not forget that Gambit actually tried a little funkiness at the start of that last game, actually went in for some early vision control around the ROC red buff. Let's see if they do it again. Right now, they're spread up across the map.
I almost wonder if they won't do it this game out of the safety cause. They don't want to potentially get jumped on again. They don't want to give up any early sorts of kills. So as it stands, nobody going for any sort of early invades. I do want to highlight the fact that Overpow has opted to go for the sweeping trinket himself, which is somewhat unusual on your mid laner. And I wonder if it's not going to signal an early sort of invade. One of the best things to do when you're dealing with a jungle Evelynn is to get deep wards on her jungle camps. It gives you full information of where she is, allows you to predict movements and plan a couple seconds ahead. And if you go in with Overpower and Jankos with that sweeping lens, it'll deny vision as well as gain you vision. And we'll see how they execute it.
Well, Gambit are moving here as a 5-man team, pretty much. I'll tell a lie, Alex is just sticking around that middle area and the ramp. So it's going to be a 4-man invade here up towards the blue buff. We see that Jankos actually is thrown his Spiderling in there first to check out what's going on. He is going to come around the corner. That's not going to give him vision because that's Diamond in there. They finally do spot that Jankos is coming out, and this is 2 men to run in there, but at level 1 they don't have the crowd control, but what they do have is the damage here for the blue. However, on the other side, Xaxus, Vander, and Silver are taking the one away from Gambit.
So they are trading objectives, blue buff for blue buff. So as far as the team net gain is concerned, there is no advantage for either players or either team right now. However, in the lane swap situation that Rocket has initiated, they are going to be giving that blue buff to Jack. So he's going to have more counter-strikes up, which will allow him to dodge, obviously, those auto attacks coming down from Gambit, and we'll have to see how they play it out. He's actually looking to roam. I think Xaxus is being a little bit greedy. Not sure if they've got enough damage without an Ignite between the two of them onto Alex in the mid lane, but we'll see how it works out.
Alex has gone for the Ignite this time around. Obviously, he was playing Teleport with Kassadin in that last game. Overpower also switching things up here, pricking up the Summoner's heal here for that mid lane. Top at the moment, Silver and Vander just having all the time in the world to be farming up in that 2v1, or 2v-non as they both are right now. Same that's happening down on the bottom.
So one of the things that I like to see at this stage of the game is pushing the minion wave into the tower to deny it from your opponents. Now, because Gambit did not do that, they've set themselves up for a 4-man tower dive. Flash is still up. Xaxus is in so much trouble.
Does he have Counter-Strike? Doesn't look like it. Yes, he does, actually. And he is going to go on towards Edward. He found him. Edward was tanking it up, and he flashes away as well. I don't think he will escape, though. Darian is going to be chasing around the back. There's a slow, and there is first blood going over to Gambit. Edward went so ridiculously low from that one, but Low's not dead.
No, it's not. And that means the blue buff that was secured by Rocket early on is now given over to Darian. So Diamond has blue. Darian has blue. We talked about how important these lane and tower trades are. There are 4 members of Gambit pushing down that bottom lane. They've already grabbed the tower. Jankos is recoiling to back off. Rocket are going to need probably another minion wave to get this tower down. Maybe they'll get it on this one. Taking so much longer than Gambit on the other side of the map.
Actually have to tank up one turret hit there as we do see Zazas finally get back into his lane, trying his damn best to hold them off on that one before. And this time does get the stun onto Darien as well. Now Jankos is there, and that will at least force Gambit away, at least for now, on this inner turret in the bottom lane. But we can see that they're pushing here. 4 men waiting in the wings to keep this push going on forward. In the top lane for ROC, they're still going to be pushing towards that inner turret, but they're not going to get the better of Gambit in terms of speed, or are they? Darien goes low! Oh, wow! 2 versus 4, and they get a kill. That should never happen.
It's straight misplay from Gambit. They overestimated the threat of 4 members on their side. The Counter-Strike locks up so many members. Now Diamond looks like he's in trouble.
He is completely out of position here. Oriana's going to come around. Alex Sich will join in as well, but the execute potential is there. They've stunned up Alex as well. That's 1 kill. Edward should probably back away here. He's gone very deep, trying to get towards Zazas at the back. The flashes are forced out. Edward's going down. It's Jankos that gets it. Now Genja's there. Can they hold off Genja? He's at half HP, or pushing down Elise at half HP. In the end, he's not got the damage. And what a turn here. Gambit got first blood on Darien. They've just lost 3 kills.
The decision-making from Gambit is simply not there. Diamond once again overextended after giving up a kill. Genja's still sticking around in the jungle. While all of that drama's going on, now Rocket are out of position.
Now they're going in towards Vander and Selva. There are the flame choppers. The hook lands onto Darien. Is this going to be his second death? Exhaust is down. He's going to fall. Vander gets that one. Get excited. We'll send Selva running, but Diamond continues to chase. Vander needs to pull something off here. It won't be in time. And now Edward's chasing down Vander as well. They've surely got the damage here. Vander has no summoner spells left, but here comes Jankos up the river. He's going to take the lantern. They go towards Diamond, and they're going to kill Diamond, and Vander lives as well. What is going on? Now they're chasing back towards Edward. They're going to give us a break, though. It's 5-2 ROC. Insane.
This is non-stop action. Jankos is everywhere on the map. In conjunction with his teammates, Jankos has secured 3 of the kills, grabbed himself an assist. Gambit are running around like headless chickens right now. They stuck around in that bottom turret for far too long. They invaded, they stuck around for far too long. They pulled a solo queue mistake of going in 1 by 1 by 1 and gave Rocket the opportunity to single them out and land all the CC that they needed. Now, even though Rocket were overextended in that last minute with Sullivan Vander pushing that inner turret, thanks to some great individual play, they turned it around. Rocket secured a kill, and because it took so long to chase Vander down, it bought time for Jankos to get in range. Right now, Rocket close to 2,000 gold in the lead. They are even on turrets, and they're sieging this bottom turret as well.
Counter-Strike coming up there for Zazas, and he's just going to let that hit the minions. They want the turret here. They do not give a monkeys about Darien, and both him and Selva are doing such a great job of stripping that one down, and now they're going to jump towards Darien. Eve's waiting to the side. There are the jumpers coming in. Darien's going down here, and he will get finished off. Selva does it, gets excited, runs away. Edward can't have the impact. Gambit are falling apart.
I have no idea what they are thinking. The tower was going down. Darien has already given up 2 kills prior to that. You can't even call it a defense, really, because he made no real attempt at shutting the champions down. He was trying to CS. Now, Rocket with a fantastic advantage. They've got 4 kills in the lead, an additional tower. They're going to grab an uncontested dragon. And if you just look at the item disparity right now, there is a BF sword on Selva to a double Doran's blade on Genja. Vamsictor picked up for Zazas. He's currently sitting on a whole bunch of gold. He's going to go back and spend that in a moment or two. And every time Rocket are moving around the map, they are punishing Gambit for their decision-making.
Absolutely dumbfounded by how this game is going so far. Darien 1-3-1. Picking up, I hate to say it, but picking up where he left off in that last game in terms of just being caught out completely. Diamond there as he was caught by the Wolves to give another kill. Edward, who's moved back and forth in those little engagements, also is 0-1-2 right now. This is not going Gambit's way. This is not the way to win a best of 3. I mean, they need this game, otherwise they're going to have to play the Wolves for that 5th, 6th place.
Yeah, and face the potential of the summer promotion tournament. Now, right now, it is still 3,000 gold. So that is a sizable amount of money at this point in the game. But because Rocket have garnered so many advantages in that top and bottom lane, it now becomes exponentially more risky to actually go past those turrets, to push deep into enemy territory. Vander right now pushing down, getting some vision, If he continues to push and Evelyn comes in from behind, Gambit can find themselves kills. Gambit can find opportunities to bring themselves back in the game. This is a level 6 Diamond that's going to be coming up against a level 6 Celiva. Vander still doesn't have his box, so we'll see how this little engage plays out.
Trying to get into position here. He's got a Scandals, Vander, and if you put it down right now, he would find that he's in full vision and in absolute danger. They're going to go in there. All three of them moving around the side. They dive towards Vander. The exhaust goes down. Darian comes in. Well, here comes Jankos. Here come the teleports as well. Vander's still alive. He's gone out to the back. Darian tries to follow through, but didn't get the killing blow. Edward's low on the top side. There is the Wild Growth coming in, and they chase around. Irelia goes down. They have not managed to finish off Overpower. He flashed away from that one, and now Jankos on towards Genja. Can they kill him blow? No, a flash away from Lucian, but look at those red blinking health balls over with Gambit. Either way, it's just a 1 for 0. I have no idea how Vander survived that.
Yeah, Diamond is in a little bit of trouble. Vander gets out with his life, and Summoner Heal wasn't even used by Celiva. That was a straight hook, line, and sinker bait from ROC. They put themselves in a position where they knew Gambit was going to bite. The moment Gambit did, the teleport came in from Xaxus. Jankos was close enough that a repel allowed him to get in range and have an impact on their fight. I do want to highlight, though, the wild growth from Gambit and the mobility that their champions have did actually allow them to survive longer than we were expecting. I did think that was going to be much worse for Gambit. And the only reason I say that in a fairly positive light is assuming Gambit can stop falling further behind. They do have the tools to deal with the single target burst of ROC, as long as they don't get grouped up and hit by multi-man abilities. So Gambit just need to play a little bit smarter and not force objectives, not force what appeared to be a fairly obvious bait.
Now they go back to farming, which I'll give them credit with on that one. You see that Darian is ahead right now of Xaxus, although he's been running across the map picking up kills left, right, and center. Mid lane, they're losing out, but only slightly. AD carries are also very, very even as well, as we see here, Darian. And there is actually Vander. He's just gone into that brush where he was almost killed before, where they got the kills thanks to that one, and has now cleared that one out. So they have full vision control over this bottom side of the map. Looks like they're going for an inner turret, and honestly, only Darian is here. He has to be very careful with the hook, the play, the box, and the threat of the chompers, the cocoon. There's so much CC with this 3-man push. If
a skill shot lands, Darian will die. There's enough damage from ROC. Now Darian needs to back away. The tower's about to fall. I think he's playing this a little bit brave. Does stand just out of range. I think he's learned a few more steps is the difference between life and death. And the third tower of the game secured for ROC. We talked about how risky it is to go for those invades. So what ROC have done to mitigate that risk is group up as a multi-man unit. They had a jungler who has hard CC in his back pocket, and now they're grouping up in the mid-outer turret. Safety in numbers, ROC are pressing their advantage.
Gambit can't do anything about this right now. They're too far behind at this stage. They know that they can be caught far too easily at this stage of the game, and that will be turret number 4 going over to ROC. All outer turrets now down. The inner turret in that bottom lane is down. We can see that Gambit, wherever they can, trying to pick up some farm. We've got a dragon coming here in 1 minute and 30 seconds, and I feel that Gambit won't be able to contest for that.
I don't think that they can. The only way Gambit can make that work is if Evelyn can come in and secure a steal on that dragon. Because as it stands, with the gold difference and the ability that ROC has to fight in those confined spaces, I think if Gambit were to engage without a proper flank, without a proper pincer movement, they could be in trouble. But on the same token, in the previous game, we've seen how effective the Lulu Wild Growth can be when you combo a lot of damage together. So if Gambit can find the perfect angle and kill a priority target like Celiva very quickly, that can work in their favor. So we'll see how it pans out. I am anticipating Rocket just to grab it fairly accurately.
45 seconds till that comes up. Alex is going to be getting his blue buff here. Already saw just previously that Overpower was gifted his own blue buff from Jankos. So are we going to see Gambit moving into that area? We can see that they've actually got 4 walls on the bottom side of the map, one of which just timed out there. But they've got 2 in the back side of that Dragon Pit. None in the pit itself, though, which is a worrying thought. Here is Xaxus here, going to be pushed by both Darian and Genja and Diamond. So this is going to be a 3-man gank. But honestly, Xaxus, he could do his job here and just hold on to this for as long as possible while that Dragon goes down. It's going to be a kill nonetheless to Gambit. That will be their 3rd of the game. It goes to Genja, but what are they going to do on the bottom side of the map now with Dragon up in 2.
That was very well played by Darien because Xaxus overextended a tiny bit. Darien was able to burn out the ward as well as that leap. So it just bought time for them to set up a very, very easy kill. Now there's no one around here for Gambit to actually contest this Dragon. So yes, they've lost a tower and a kill. Rocket do the best they can to stay even. I think Gambit will be pretty happy with that trade. Given Genji a little bit of an advantage, and they've opened up that top half of the map, it does look like they're trying to steal this red as well.
Well, we'll probably be able to stop this one from happening. He's going to throw it out. There's Shockwave onto Diamond. He's going to go full all in onto him, and he's going to get every last bit of it as well. The kill and the red buff. Overpower. Nicely worked for him there. Actually, the Super Mega Death Rocket went out towards Gensha there. I think completely missed him, by the way, but they pick up a kill, keep a hold of their red buff. They got that Dragon, and yes, they lost that turret, but look at that gold lead. 5,000 already for Rocket.
Yeah, at the 15-minute mark, this is such a commanding performance. Diamond tried to go for a solo invade. He didn't have the support of his team members. And I will also be honest, I think underestimated the damage there from Overpower. You actually see Gambit members basically arguing over the wolf camp there. Alex securing the big wolf while Genji gets the two smaller ones. And I think at this point in time, Gambit have given up so many kills and so many objectives that there is literally no more room for error. If they do that again, when Rocket group up around these inner turrets at the top and the middle lane, it's going to open up their inhibitor turrets. And the moment Gambit falls so far behind that they can't even defend their inhibitors, this game is going to be completely over.
I can see that Celeber here quite happily pushing away on this top side of the map. In fact, he does have Thresh coming around to him there. Lisa's there as well, and actually Eddie might get caught out here. This is real bad news for Edward. He's going to get caught in between 3 people. It's Overpower that's going to be chasing him back. The rest of his team have said, I don't think we're going to be able to stick with you, Eddie. He's going to flash away over on towards the side of Rocket, and on their side of the map, he's going to be chased by Overpower, but that leaves 3 versus 2 here on that side of the map. Edward here will be spotted by the minions. Have they got vision of him? Overpower going to check this first push. Edward is going to try to recall, but he's not going to escape this one. He's going to go underneath the tower. That's the free damage that Overpower needs. Well, it's just a matter of time for that one. Meanwhile, all right, Eddie.
The most unexciting kill of the game.
I love to screen things, replays included, but that one was just a foregone conclusion there. 3 men were still pushing here on this top lane, by the way, for Rocket while that was happening. Gambit did manage to hold it.
So while the chase on Edward was awkward, I actually think Rocket's movement in the jungle of Gambit was even more awkward. They had 3 members available. They were milling between the lane and the jungle camps. Xaxus was pushing the bottom lane just to, push out that wave and get some more map control. But as it stands, Rocket, they haven't really committed to going for this full tower. Overpower still has his shockwave available, and I'm waiting to see when Xaxus decides to teleport in. Genja forced to use the culling just to defend the tower, and actually doesn't even get the full wave.
He needs to be careful. Oh, the cocoon's landed there. Is everything thrown at him? The hook lands as well, and Jankos now unstoppable. 5-0-1. Tori goes down. The box goes in. Darien going very, very low from this one. Can they finish him? He flashes over. Now they turn towards Edward and to Diamond, who gets locked up in the cocoon. Jankos has to just jump away from that one, and in the end, they've not quite got the damage to finish off those 2 men, but will they have enough for the turret here with a 5-man push?
Shockwave and heal is still available on the side of Overpower. They're going to get the tower uncontested. Nobody else from Gambit is close enough to challenge, so Rocket decide to back away safely. I want to go back to that pick on Genja after they landed the CC. Had Edward not wasted his intervention on a kill that was guaranteed to happen, he may have saved Genja for a moment or 2 longer. Genja has a flash available. If he'd flashed away from those flame chompers after intervention could have saved him, you know what? Maybe it would have been enough time for the rest of the team to get there. Truthfully though, that's hindsight, that's 2020, and Rocket have a 7,000, 8,000 gold lead. But the point is, because Gambit are making all of these individual misplays, Rocket is punishing them over and over and over again. And with the gold lead that Rocket have, this is their series to lose because they're in such a great position.
I was going to say your maybe can pretty much be traced right the way back to the start of this match, or not quite the start, because let's not forget First Blood went to Darien before everything went so quickly pear-shaped from Gambit's side of things. They're going to try and rebuild here, starting with a blue buff for Alexic. He's now got the needlessly large rod added in to his Athene's Unholy Grail. Looks the same as Orianna, but something tells me that he might be selling quite a bit of gold there, Overpower.
Yeah, we'll need to see where he works. 1,400 gold a decent chunk of change, getting closer to the point that he can pick up that death cap. Needs another 250 odd, give or take. At this point, I just think ROC, when they group up in Siege, they're doing it well. They're doing it fantastically. Every single time they've been on Gambit's turret, a member of Rocket has landed a crucial skill shot that has given them kills. It happened in game 1 with the exact same champions. It's happening now in game 2. You've seen the death sentence previously, you're seeing the cocoons landing. And I think if I were in Rocket's shoes, I would stock up on wards and I would just push down the middle lane. Get the last mid inner turret and then immediately start sieging up either the inhibitor turrets or forcing Baron. I think Xaxus was a little further ahead in the previous game, so they're not quite powerful enough to take Baron, but we'll see how it works out.
Celeber and Vander here gonna push out this bottom lane once again. Evelyn, I feel like Diamond is gonna be so key here to doing anything in this game. If they're gonna get these picks off, he's gotta be the one that gets things started off, that gets these positional moves right for them. But you see that Jankos has not even got vision of him, he's just walking his general direction, and Diamond's like, nope, not gonna do that. Meanwhile, Darian's just cowering in a bush, doesn't want to add any more deaths, I think, to that 1-4-2. The Dragon's coming up here in 5 seconds. Honestly, again, Gambit are in that scenario where I feel like they can't fight for it, but I almost feel like they have to at this point somehow.
The problem is Gambit can't pick a fair fight because they're so far down on map presence and on gold. If they pick a straight up fight, they're behind in every single department, so they will lose. The only way for Gambit to actually pick a fight to try to balance this back out is, once again, finding picks. Is actually with Diamond and Alex maybe flanking somebody, maybe catching Xaxus and killing him before he can get the support of the rest of his team. And because Rocket have got pretty good vision, at least in the top half of Gambit's jungle, it just makes it so much more difficult. Rocket aren't giving them a chance. They are playing safe enough right now to avoid opening themselves up to that opportunity.
Overpowers death cap. Must be a little bit scary there for Alex Ich. We saw his little 1v1 against Diamond. It wasn't really a 1v1 either, was it? If we're really honest on that, it was all about Overpower just landing everything. And there is Xaxus jumping on towards Alex Ich. The wild growth used, flash away from the shockwave. The intervention used a little bit too early there from Edward, and that was a little bit of a catastrophe there, a bit of comedy of errors.
So that was a flash intervention from Edward. He used his summoner spell and his ultimate. Alex forced to flash away from Jax and use his wild growth. If you look down the summoner spells of Rocket, they didn't lose a thing. They only used that shockwave. Now a two-man of Rocket are sneaking a Baron. The rest of Rocket are running interference and blocking. Xaxus isn't even there. He's going to walk his way back up, but Jankos, look at the damage he's taken. If he gets caught out now by Diamond, he probably will go down. Here's a teleport from Gambit. Can they steal this Baron?
He coming in, but there's the Baron going to Rocket. Jankos low. Oh, the Super Mega Death Rocket completely whiffing there. Vander's going to go low. He flashes away to the side. Sullivan not got any mana left. Overpower does have a flash here. He's just going to wait it out. He's even going to take a ward down there in the time that he waits around. And he's waiting for that lantern, and there it is. Who needs the flash when your teammate can go low, go over the other side, throw you the lantern. Safe as houses for Rocket. They get the Baron here. 10-3 up in kills. So very close to a 10k gold lead.
That play absolutely exemplifies how unfortunate Gambit have been in this game. Their decision-making has put them so far behind that as a team, knowing that their opponent's on low HP, there are 5 members of Gambit here, and they are too scared to engage on Overpower. They are too scared to go in the pit. The control and the exquisite decision-making from Rocket means that Overpower didn't even burn his flash. He knew, he was communicating with Vander, they knew that the lantern was up, there was no threat, so why bother wasting a summoner spell? And that just completely defines this series so far. Gambit just haven't been in it.
Not being in it, as Jankos going to be spotted out there by Alex Ich up in the Gambit jungle, and he's looking for those wards. There's one by the white, there's one pink ward, in fact, by that blue buff, but he is looking at those jungle camps right now. Let's try and look at some of the items here and check out the differences between the two of them. The AD carries there, we see actually Sullivan getting caught here, so let's forget that one for a little while. Vander throws in the lantern as if to say, come on, let's rejoin the fight and have a go at them right now. That's not going to happen as Darian comes in from the side and Rocket just push up through the jungle on that top side. They've got a minion wave actually starting to push down now. That inhibitor, of course, on the top side is in fact open for them. They're going to take the buffs. They're going to start pushing down there. That's going to leave Jax and Xaxus to push the bottom lane with teleport available.
That was a 5-on-4 that Gambit didn't pull the trigger on. They didn't feel confident enough to find a kill before Xaxus could teleport in. Now with the tower being down, Rocket are on the inhibitor, and Gambit make no signs of defending. Alex is 1.5 miles away pushing that mid lane. He's just started recalling, but it's far too late. And Rocket pick up an uncontested inhibitor. Can Xaxus 1v2?
Genja threw the calling out there. Oh my god, Xaxus tricking the both of them. Got the stun down and then jumped straight off. Meanwhile, Edward here, intervention's not going to save his life. And I don't know if Genja's going to escape this one either. He will, because he's got his flash available. He flashes straight out of that one. Diamond's off to the side of things as well. But look at Rocket. They're going to try and win this game.
They're going for the Nexus turrets, and they've got a minion wave with them. Diamond and Darien from the sides. There's no Agony's Embrace, so Diamond doesn't have that big AoE. They get enough wave clear to hold on the turrets, but at the end of the day, Rocket get a lot of damage, and Xaxus is left uncontested in the bottom lane.
Xaxus doing the damage, and look at this Rocket playing that split push perfectly. They're going to come in from the side. Darien not caught by the hook there, and he's going to go right into the middle. The box goes down. Darien has to flash away. Diamond, will he be so lucky? The wild growth actually saving him there. Edward has respawned and come back into this one as well, but Jax continues to hammer away on the turret and leaping when they come out. It forces Gambit to yo-yo between the top and the bottom lane.
Yeah, if there weren't 10,000 gold down, that wild growth saving members of Gambit could have opened an opportunity for them to re-engage and Rocket. But because Gambit fell so far behind early on, it is not possible. Now, Alex fancies his chances here against Xaxus. Did get a very nice help picks into Glitzerlance, but at the end of the day, doesn't manage to do anything more than interrupt Xaxus. But Rocket are playing a 4-1 split push absolutely phenomenally.
Yeah, trying to get in there, but honestly, you don't want that fight. You don't want to be fighting Xaxus. You maybe look for a cheeky steal on that blue buff, and Xaxus is like, you know what, I fancy the white. Let's just reset the blue for now, as Diamond does come around. Darian's there with him as well. They don't want this one. There's no way they should be sticking around from this. And actually, Xaxus going to get sped up from this one. Has he got the pace, though, to get into Diamond? Actually jumps off towards the ward, but that means he can't jump to Diamond's position. But they are very much out of position. Darian's lucky there that they've got no vision. Diamond might not be as lucky. He should just sit there and wait, because if he reveals Darian, they'll stop him from recalling. And here is the hunt, and it's not much of a kill either. Xaxus going to pick off Diamond. The Dragon's up, freebie for Rocket.
I'm not sure you can call that a hunt. It was more like shooting fish in a barrel as far as Rocket were concerned. They managed to catch Diamond and Darien out of position. Again, just trying to do the best that they can, trying to put themselves in a position where they can get a buff or get something. But it's just becoming more and more desperate on the side of Gambit. Alex, again, he's stealing away a Wraith Camp. 40 gold. I guess it's going to help get you closer to that 10,000, but as it stands, Super Minis in the top lane. Rocket, they just need to bide their time, maybe wait for the next Baron, get Baron before they go for a siege. I think that's probably going to be the route that they're going to follow. But as it stands, they're doing everything right.
Well, it's an 11,000 gold lead, 12-3 in kills, 6-3 in turrets. They've got one inhibitor down already. That first Nexus turret went very, very low earlier on. As Jankos actually getting a little bit caught out, but well, at least he had the repel to get away. The Chompers pretty much zoning Gambit out of any potential fight. Wow, that was a pretty sick cocoon, or maybe Diamond just walked into it, which is probably more than a likely story from that one. Jankos going to have himself the Wraith Camp here, and Rocket set up. Still an inner turret here on this middle lane. As usual, Xaxus has pushed off towards his bottom lane, and he's going to be running through. Gambit have to make a decision. Defend the inner turret, defend the inner turret. One of two of them is going to happen. They're actually going to fight for this one. Darien going to go low. They're trying to focus Jankos, but he's not taking the damage. Three-man shockwave comes in, and here comes Xaxus right into the middle. All the damage coming down, but no one actually falling here. Diamond going to be chased onto. Can Xaxus finish him off? He has got his ultimate running. He's going to have one more jump in a second, and he squashes him like a fly. That's a 5 versus 4 now. Have they got the health for the turret? And maybe more.
They definitely do. You see Xaxus is pushing the wave in to that top tower. Here comes the Super Minion. The inhibitor has respawned. That's going to go down shortly. The rest of Rocket are peeling. Xaxus may be in a little bit of trouble.
Rest of the team coming across. Xaxus actually dives further in onto that one. He does. He indeed end up falling to Alex, but so does the inhibitor. And there's 12 seconds until the Baron comes away. They didn't quite finish off that top inhibitor again. Gambit, are they going to try and contest or do anything for this Baron? They've not really got any vision. And if they do go in there, they could be in danger, although this one ward here is giving them vision of ROCCAT's position now.
It is very, very risky for ROCCAT if they try to start the Baron off. So I think they're going to just try to interrupt Gambit if Gambit try to rush that one down. Super Mega Death Rocket will be available shortly. Shockwave is up. Overpower's backing away right now. I think he should probably cancel that recall. We'll see how quickly they can respond. Gambit is showing no signs of rushing this one down because it is a game-losing move. If they get caught out and give up too many kills, they will die.
I also have to give the counter-argument to that one. They have to do something in this game, whether that's rushing it, whether that's setting up some kind of surprise here against ROCCAT, and even then, there's I don't want to say very little chance, but the chances are definitely not high for them to win a 5v5, even if that starts with some crazy face check from ROCCAT. We can see already that they've wrestled the positioning back on Baron. Diamond's trying to flank around the side here to cause any kind of surprise to them, but look how much HP he's got to Jankos. Look how tanky Jankos is compared to him, and Jankos has even got more damage in there as well with that Leandris.
At this point in time, I actually think it's too late. It's very seldom that you want to say, look, a team is done, but at this point, Irelia's not tanky enough to be in the middle of ROCCAT. Diamond Prox is by no means strong enough to even flank ROCCAT. And yes, there is an intervention and a wild growth, but in the previous team fight, you've seen when the Shockwave landed and the Mega Death Rocket landed, that was one boost of HP and one damage prevention that just simply had next to no impact. Gambit needed to not lose the early game. You do see Xaxus continues to split push on that bottom half of the map, and every single time members of Gambit sort of move towards him, ROCCAT try to gain better vision and better positioning in this top half of the map. They've got their sights set on this Baron buff.
Going to be a bit of a ward war of attrition here, and so far ROCCAT doing a great job, although that one single ward there at Baron is still alive. It's just around the corner from a pink ward. The scan was just out of range of it. That means they're going to see ROCCAT starting this one off, but that Baron's health is sinking very, very quickly. They start to peel away, go towards Diamond, who actually he's going to get some decent damage down. There's the intervention as well, but Xaxus is now joining the party. Wild Growth comes on towards Darian. Jankos is decently low. Celiver, though, is free to hammer away from the backside. The hook lands onto Darian, and that is the first of possible many kills here. No, ROCCAT decides to back away. They want this Baron.
Gambit actually performed that fight near flawless, considering how far behind they are with items, with gold, with every single thing. They managed to mitigate and juke around ROCCAT well enough to cause them a headache. Unfortunately for Gambit, they are just too far behind. They didn't have the damage they needed to get the kills. And like we talked about, Darian was in the fight for 3 odd seconds before he needed to retreat, and a great death sentence from Vanda sentenced him to death. Now ROCCAT with Baron, they're going to siege this top lane, grab their second inhibitor. There's very little Gambit can do because they don't have many of their ultimates available for another big team fight.
Diamond trying to come around the side here, but honestly, his effect has been pretty minimal in these fights, and look how quickly that inhibitor goes down there. Celiver ripping it to shreds, and that means now only the bottom side of Gambit's base is really left standing. That middle inhibitor should be spawning in here fairly shortly, as we're going to see the slow going on to Edward. Does that mean the hook comes in? No, not quite, and Diamond is still looking for that flank position.
Yeah, it's the way you need to engage with Eve, but we need to see, can they blow somebody up quickly enough? At this point in time, ROCCAT are playing so incredibly safe. They're even moving towards Diamond. There's no pink wards right now, but as they back away, they are placing their own vision, using those sweeping lenses, going to spend the money they've earned from the last few pushes and from Baron, and they got super minions in both the middle and the top lane. So this is the ROCCAT that we seen last year in the promo tournament when they took out Ninjas in Pajamas. This is the ROCCAT that plays safe and controlled when they have a lead to ensure they do not give it up.
And on that note as well, we're only 33 minutes into this game. This is not a 50-minute dragged out victory here for ROCCAT. And that all comes from, that amazing... I almost hesitate to call it amazing because I feel like a lot of it was misplays from Gambit's side as well, whilst not wanting to take things away from ROCCAT because they certainly have capitalized on what they've been given.
The way to look at it is the misplays from Gambit were punished and taken advantage of by ROCCAT. And when you are at this level of play and you are gifted opponents who are out of position and engage one by one into multiple members of your teams, if you do not punish that, you are making even bigger mistakes. So all kudos to ROC for taking advantage of Gambit being out of position. I do want to touch on the fact that the captain boots have been picked up by Edward. It has been changed. It is cheaper in 4.5 and more effective. It's going to give you your allies a 10% increase when they're moving forward. But you know what? At this point, it's a little too late in the game. Super Minions streaming middle and top, and we'll see how ROC siege this up. Using the long range of their rocket launcher, that tower's already being shredded.
Yeah, already down to way less than half HP. Genja actually getting hit there slightly by Overpower. And look at this, once again, the standard tactic here of this game for ROC is Zazas pushing down that middle lane. This is going to be the third and final inning going down. Diamond is actually going to back away. Darian's right in the middle of them. Wild Growth goes down. Jankos actually falling fairly low, but they've used all the heals that they've got there. The hook comes in, the shockwave follows up. Gambit are going to fall one by one. Edward, the last man left alive here. And look at ROC, they're tanking up those Nexus turrets. They're going to finish both of them off. They'll finish the Nexus itself and Gambit Gaming and pick up the victory here to go through into the semi-finals to meet SK Gaming.
Ladies and gentlemen, a flawless performance with effectively the same composition. ROC played 4 out of 5 champions the same in both of these games, and you never once felt like Gambit were really in a position to challenge. From the get-go, ROC found picks, they landed their skill shots, and they forced Gambit into the 5th, 6th place decider, potentially to a position where they may be facing the summer promotion tournaments.
And it's so hard to call out one specific member there of ROC for fantastic play. I'm going to go out on a limb and talk about Zazas here. You were trying to get in there before me. I hope you've got someone different from that one. But for me, Zazas, we saw in the first blood of this game, let's not forget, went over to Gambit. It was a 3-man dive onto the turret. Actually, it was a 4-man dive.
It was 4-man.
It was a 4-man dive versus Zazas alone. He waited to see who the tower was going to aggro, and then he threw the counter-strike, jumped straight onto him, got the stun, almost killed Edward. But even then, after that, Edward was low. He ended up doing it again on the inner turret this time to pick off Darian. And once that happened, you saw an obvious nosedive in, I think, confidence overall for Gambit.
So the part of the reason that Zazas was able to turn the second dive on the inner turrets and actually get a kill in a 2v4 was because of the player I want to call out, is Jankos. He played Elise in both games. His cocoons were phenomenal. Yeah. His early ganks were absolutely great. Elise is a champion that has been hit recently, but in terms of her jungle clear, not necessarily in terms of her damage against champions. She still has percentage HP. And we've heard a lot of pros quite outspoken about moving away from Elise. And Jankos made it work. He went unkilled in that previous game, 6-0-7. 13 of the kills he was involved with out of his team's 18. And I really feel like he was a very large proponent of their rotations in the early game. We talked about how important Jankos and Diamond are to this games. I did not once feel that Diamond had a positive impact.
Well, let's just keep the ball rolling here. Overpower, it's his birthday today, a 2-0 victory. Not a single death over 2 games. Finished 2-0-11 in this one. He didn't die in game 1, right?
No, he didn't. 1-0-16.
And he was involved in every single kill in game 1.
Yeah.
Pretty much most of them here. 2-0-11 on Orianna. He had another really, really impressive game. Vander's hooks were sublime all day long. Celiva, whilst I think it remained the quieter of everyone else, he didn't really do anything wrong in those both entire games.
So before we get to Celiva, I want to touch on the lane matchups that Overpower had. He played Lulu in the first game, he had Orianna in the second game. He had time to deal with Gambit. In game 1, he was against Kassadin, who is strong in the weak in the laning phase, doesn't offer much resistance. Now Orianna versus Lulu. Lulu is much less of a bully in the early game. So both times, both teams were almost gifted a fairly easy mid lane laning phase. Yeah. The difference is the side lanes went to crap for Gambit because they got caught out, they were out of position. Alex never got a chance to have a positive impact because he was 3, 4, 5,000 gold down before his ultimates were even needed. And then just to very quickly touch on Celiva, he played Jinx, high risk AD carry because you can get jumped on against champions who wanted to jump on him. He gave up 1 death in each game. And again, because of great teamwork and getting ahead, but all props to him. He was never out of position. You never felt like he was at threat of being killed in either of the matches.
And kited brilliantly, which is something you've got to be able to do with Jinx, landing the slows in there. We saw a couple of times where he was so very low, specifically in that second game in the top lane, where he got the assist on the kill, got his passive going, and just ran away from what looked like certain death. Overall, I think we could say that this ROC team were so impressive. And I want to go back to that question that I asked earlier. Is it an upset if ROC beat Gambit today? And I'll tell you what, looking at the performances there, it's no surprise that ROC beat Gambit today, looking at both teams' performances.
ROC are one of the few teams that can get under Gambit's skin very early on, and that is, to me, the key to beating Gambit. If you are even at the end of a laning phase, all of a sudden you are in trouble. And I want to step back very quickly and look at Gambit as a whole. They had a boot camp leading into Intel Extreme Masters World Championship in Katowice, and they did not look threatening. They did not look to be the Korean killers that we expect.
Yeah.
They had a 12-day boot camp coming into this match. And truthfully, I don't think they've looked worse all split. Individually, they made mistakes. Their decision-making when moving around the map was poor. And I really think they have to go back to the drawing board tonight to figure out how they deal with the Copenhagen Walls tomorrow, because otherwise it's a summer promotion tournament.
They need to fix that, that's for sure, but let's keep it positive. ROC move through to the semi-final. We're going to send things down to Shox, who's joined by Vander and the birthday boy Overpower from ROC to talk about that win.
Thank you very much, Joe. Indeed, joined by the birthday boy Overpower and Vander as well. Overpower, what a birthday present that you guys gave yourselves. You not only secure a place in the semi-finals tomorrow, but also the summer split. What for you guys is the most important?
I think the most important is that we stay for the next split. It's very exciting to play on the LCS, and it's just really great.
Yeah, absolutely. But of course, you got to give your all in the semi-final tomorrow, because you guys look great today. Let us talk a little bit about the comps. I wanted to ask you maybe first, going up against that reworked Cassidy the very first time here in the LCS, what were your general impressions?
So before the game, I asked guys what his skills are, because I didn't even play versus him at solo queue or something. But I feel overall he's a weak champion. He had to go tanky because he deals not so much damage anymore. So he went tanky and had no damage, not so tanky as well. So it was kind of weird to see him in the LCS playoffs.
Are you the guy that then says, hey, Overpower, he does this, this, and this? Are you the brain?
It was Jenkos, because he always likes to troll a bit in solo queue. He likes to have fun. And I think the Kassadin pick was about catching the AD carry of us. Like, he's tanky and he has a lot of slows with E and this item. You build out of Shin, yeah. And yeah, then you have Kha'Zix and Irelia, so I think they were focusing on killing Jinx in teamfights.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys going for that Jinx pick twice, which is, of course, a risky pick. So are you then very confident in your Thresh skills that you can protect her, or is it the Jinx, or is it Celiver that says, hey guys, I can do it?
I think it's both. Like, they were jumping on Jinx every teamfight, and I just built 2 items for her, one from the Targon to shield and Mikael, so she's pretty safe with a new exhaust, which is really good, and my ultimates and other skills.
So in the preview show, we had statements from both teams, and you guys kind of called out Gambit bottom lane as probably being the weakest link, and they did the same thing about you guys. How do you think it matched up in the end?
Well, in game 1, the teleports really saved them, because if not those TPs, they would be dead twice in 2v2. But yeah, it could be them baiting, so I died once for 2 TPs, so I think it's not that well for them, and even Nami took the kill.
Overpowered, and tell me about the champion select also in game 2, because we seemed confused. Is it going to be Lulu mid, or is it going to be Lulu support? Why did you go for the Orianna in the end?
Because it's just a safe champion, as Lulu is, so we wanted to make it safe. We picked the same picks as last game because it really worked for us, and we just changed Orianna, as I said, because of this safety.
One last thing maybe about the game. It almost seemed like a birthday present from Gambit to you, because after the first blood went down for Darien, you just kept cutting him out all the time. Tell us about that.
It was crazy. First time, Jax got dived by 4 people, and then I said, oh crap. And suddenly, big team fights, they're going next to our blue buff, I'm going in, Lulu's going in, everyone is killing everyone, and everyone's using flashes. So I just don't know, like, we end up being 5-2, I think. So it feels great to win such a fight, but it was really weird.
Yeah, you're like, give me all those birthday presents. But anyway, guys, we will see you guys in the summer split, which is fantastic for you. But tomorrow, the semifinal versus SK Gaming. You guys have not the best record versus SK Gaming, 1-3 in the spring split. So how do you think that matchup's going to go, Vander?
I think they are a really strong team right now. Like them and Fnatic are two best teams probably right now, not including us. Yeah, I think it will be hard, and I think both teams have really big chance. Like we have really different play styles, I think, and yeah, it will be fun to see how it goes.
It will indeed be fun to see. We'll see that tomorrow. Thank you very much, you both, and happy birthday once again to you, Overpower.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go back over to Joe and Quick Chat to check out our bracket.
All right, thank you very much, guys. And with that series complete, let's take a look at the rest of the playoff picture. Alliance, of course, beat the Copenhagen Wolves earlier today, which means they will move into tomorrow's semi-final match versus Fnatic. And after winning 2 decisive games over Gambit, ROC will join them and move into the semis where they'll face SK Gaming.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the Copenhagen Wolves will face Gambit in a 5th place best of 3, with the losers heading to the summer promotion tournament. Thursday will feature a battle for 3rd place between the losing teams from the semifinals. And finally, the winners from those 2 semifinal matches will head into the championship best of 5 to decide the spring split 1st place team and who will be heading to Paris and represent Europe in the All-Stars.
So that means that you can watch these matches here with us tomorrow. First up, Fnatic will face Alliance in the first semi-final best of 3, and that will be followed by SK Gaming versus ROC in our 2nd semi-final of the day.
Yeah, after that, Gambit and the Copenhagen Wolves will fight for 5th place, with the losing team heading to next week's summer promotion tournament. Those matches will start on Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central European Summertime. That's 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time.
So for myself, Quick Shot, Shox, Demon, Deficio, and the entire LCS broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you back here Wednesday as the spring playoffs move into the semi-finals to decide who will head to the championship match. Don't miss it.